with the University of Utah. How did we get here and what's next?
All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into our first conversational topic, shall we?
Absolutely.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the Utah Utes here. Utah Utes did finish off the season with a win.
Yeah.
28-14 against UCF.
Yep.
The Utes find themselves with a 5-7 record. This is their first losing record since 2013. They are ineligible for a bowl game this year. The search begins for a new offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on at least at the time of recording, there's no announcements on Witt's future. Although, if
there is going to be one, it'll definitely be in about an hour and a half once we
wrap up.
Yeah, once we wrap the show, that's when it'll be announced.
Yeah, that's when it's going to pop up on Twitter for sure.
So if that happens, we will post it right here.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll put it in post right here.
Timestamp it in here for sure. We had high hopes for this team. Most national outlets did have Utah as the favorites to win the conference, if not at the top three mix with Kansas State and Oklahoma State. That top three is kind of laughable now at this point, which is, really kind of leading us to only one real question. And I'm going to ask you that question, AJ. What happened?
Oh, man. That is the question that, it's burning on every single Utes fans, right? I think we've all been asking ourselves, how long were we going to be able to just out defense every single opponent? How long are we going to be able to just manage / burn the clock and really just defeat teams by being more physical, right? Like, this is the Kyle Whittingham philosophy, which is, that model is very similar to, if you're describing some of the best teams in college football. If you go to the Big Ten, you go to the SEC, that's how these powerhouses are 100% built. Tough defense. They can score enough to keep the pressure off the offense. You outmuscle every single opponent, and you just know that you got more horses in the stable than the next guy, right?
Right.
That's how teams, big time teams, do it. Unfortunately, the University of Utah is not built like Georgia, nor Alabama, or Oregon, or Ohio State. The list goes on. A few more names, that the Utes really just aren't built like. But the fact is they're just not one of those programs. And we don't have the star power. We don't attract top-tier talent in quantities like that goes to 10. We don't have 5-star guys lining up every single recruiting period. We don't get 4- and 5-star transfers out of the transfer portal. So most of the names of guys that you hear are 3- and 4-star guys that came to Utah and became superstars. That's just how it is. They put in the work and they made it happen. So this is really tough. That's how we got there, right? We got here because we tried to do what every major powerhouse team does, but we are not built like every single major powerhouse team.
Okay.
That's what it is. The problem is Utah's thrived on having young, talented guys in this program for 3 to 4 years. In the last 2 years of all of these guys, that's when they make the necessary trades. They kind of keep this team, so they're in the program for 3 to 4 years. And in the last 2 years is when these guys are superstar enough to be in making a difference and producing the product that we've seen is in their last 2 years of the program. They go to the NFL, they become studs. There's a couple, Jalen Johnson, there's a few guys that have come in and done their 2 years and been out. But for the most part, all of these guys have been with the program for a long time. Right. And unfortunately, with the transfer portal now, Kyle Whittingham said it best, dude, in one of his most recent interviews. He says, and I quote, "It's like you're hiring mercenaries every single year. You've got to collect as much talent as quickly as you can and hope it gels and comes together and you get results." This is much easier said than done.
That's a t-shirt right there.
That is 100% a t-shirt. It's like hiring mercenaries.
Whittingham's Mercenaries. That's a t-shirt.
Oh,
right,
dude, absolutely. That is actually genius. With some shadow football players in the background.
Heck yeah, man.
I like that a lot. The transfer portal has leveled the playing field in college football, right? It 100% has. It hasn't done the Utes any favors. The fact is this season in particular, we continued to put all of our eggs in the Cam Rising basket. We loaded up talent around him. We were super convinced that this was the saving grace that was going to take us to the promised land. And when it didn't work out, we waited way too long. We kept hoping he would come back. Kept hoping he would be healthy. And what it cost us was valuable experience for Isaac Wilson and Brandon Rose. Those guys didn't get the chance to play in games that were more winnable than some of the ones down the stretch. Maybe they get hurt earlier. I don't know. The fact is maybe they're more limber in some of these games, and we don't only get one game of Brandon Rose. Maybe we get them for a few and we win a couple more games and we are bowl eligible and we got one more game for these guys to continue to learn. So the Utes really need to, we've got to move on. I mean, this season's behind us now. Luckily it's past us. We can go forward. But the Utes need to identify an offensive coordinator, like you said, as soon as possible. Yesterday would be great. If they could just go ahead and figure somebody out yesterday. And then really just start finding the next round of mercenaries, man. You know what I mean?
That's right. So, well, you brought it up a little bit there when it comes to when you talk about coaching. And I think this is worth further discussion maybe during the offseason that we definitely want to talk about. But we've had a very successful coaches in this college football, kind of college football league and in the Division I college football league. Basically just kind of walk away.
Yeah.
Walk away from the game, citing that this was not the game they signed up for. Maybe we're starting to see cracks in the Whittingham regime here, I think. Is this the type of football that he really wants to be a part of?
Right. Just like Nick Saban.
Yeah. Just like Nick Saban. Exactly. Is this the type of, with this type of football flirting with more of a pro model and more of a professional league, with Witt, can he helm a team and compete at this level? Like you mentioned, we already seen Saban throw in the towel there. Is it the same thing here? And Witt's just not Saban. Witt's just more of a lunch pail competitor to notice the fact that this type of coaching may not be his style. Is that a possibility, or are we just seeing a transition year where Witt's trying to get it? Because there's no excuse about, you can say the transfer portal all you want, you can say the NIL, you can blame Cam all you want, not blame him personally, but blame his injuries all you want.
Yeah,
this was the most talented football team the University of Utah has had since I can remember
ever. This was the best product that the Utes have ever put on the field, top to bottom, no doubt about it.
Right. And they are way better, even without a quarterback, than a 5-7 record.
Yeah, absolutely.
At least bowl eligible. You could barely, at the very least. So I don't know, man. I think it's worth discussing maybe a little bit later on in the offseason there. If we don't hear anything from Kyle Whittingham, all signs are pointing to him actually talking about recruiting and going down that path and getting ready to study all that stuff and get into that. But yeah, I don't know. I just think it's worth looking at as far as the progression. Let's see what happens, man. The University of Utah did have their first year in a new league. BYU went through this last year, and everybody outside just said, "Oh, BYU sucks." But if you talk to anybody down there, they said, "Oh, look how many times, how close we were in so many of those games. We're there, we're close."
Yeah.
And this year, look how many times they were in close games that they actually won. They lost them last year. This year they won.
Yep.
Maybe it's just a year of growing pains to get used to this conference. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think there were some conference growing pains. Just not, battling teams that you don't have on tape, battling teams that you don't know what they're going to play against you. It's a whole different watching a team play another team and think, okay, this is what they do in this coverage, this is what they do in this coverage. But you've never been on the field with them.
No.
You know what I mean? And you don't know what they're trying to do, and they don't know what you're trying to do in these games. So it's really tough to try to figure out all of this stuff in game and live action. And I think that's kind of the growing pain. I think the Utes were much better in the Pac-12 because they played all these teams. And so I feel like they were definitely more comfortable, and you could see that discomfort against some of the Big 12 teams just not knowing what they were trying to throw against them.
Gotcha. We want to hear from you folks. Let us know in the comments down below what you think as far as what happened with the University of Utah this year. Obviously, are we off on this? Or are we way off base? Or do you kind of feel like we're kind of in the same realm there of what you think there? We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure you guys tune in. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think.